Hi guys, in this video we are going to discuss what's meant by the phase voltage and the line voltage. In our previous video we have already discussed about what's meant by the phase voltage and how we are producing it and why we are producing only 3-phase. So if you haven't watched that video, I recommend you to watch that video before watching this, so it would be more useful for you. And if you are new to the Expert Tutor channel, please don't forget to subscribe it. Okay, without wasting our time, let's move to the main content. So over here we are going to have, let's say in this diagram, as you can see over here, we are having a 3-phase system. First of all, you need to understand when we are having a 3-phase system means there is going to be 3 lines. We are going to produce the voltage or produce the voltage differences in those lines, in these 3 lines, in these 3 types of phases, with 3 types of phases. When you are comparing these 2 phases, which is producing by one motor, the phase differences would be 120. When you compare any of these phases with another one, you can see that the phase angle would be 120. So first of all, you need to understand what's meant by this phase angle, why it's causing a difference. We have already discussed that in the previous video. So how we are containing or how we are determining about this 120, the simple thing is, when you are considering about this, when you are comparing these 2 phases, phase voltages, actually you need to check any point. You need to take one point. Let's say this is a point. I'm going to take one point from this and check what's the whether they are having, the phase 2 is having the same characteristic of this point. Actually you can see that when you are considering this phase 2 diagram, it's in this point the voltage value is going to be the same and it's in the same direction, so you can directly tell these 2 are similar points. So the angle between those 2 points would be the phase angle difference between these 2 phases. So you can directly say this is going to be 120. If you check that, if you draw a graph and check that, it's going to be 120. So that's the main point. That's known as phase differences between any 2 phases. So when we are considering about the phase 2 and phase 1, or phase 3 and phase 1, it's going to have the phase difference of 120 degrees if it's a 3-phase voltage system. So what's meant by the phase voltage is, when we are considering about the voltage, actually we need to have a reference voltage. From that only we can measure the voltages. Normally we are having the reference voltage as 0, and ground level voltage is known as 0. Earth connected to earth means we are going to have the reference of 0. The 0 voltage is in the earth. Likewise we are going to consider. So when we are considering about the phase voltage of this phase 1, in this part it's going to have the phase voltage of, let's say this is VA. The maximum voltage of this phase would be the amplitude of this line or amplitude of this graph. When you are considering this, this simply means the voltage, the phase voltage is measured reference to that 0 voltage, or in other terms you can tell it's going to be the reference, it's going to have the reference of neutral line. So in other terms we will tell that as this is going to be the phase voltage. When you are considering about the phase voltage, remember that when anyone asks about the phase voltage, we are going to take the voltage with reference to neutral line or with reference to 0 voltage. So that's known as phase voltage. So the second question is, then what's meant by the line voltage? It's going to be the line voltage in that line, the 120, or the phase only having on one line it's going to have one phase, in another line it's going to have another phase. That's okay. And actually we know that when you are considering about the phase voltage, it's going to have that phase voltage in that line. So why can't we call that as line voltage? Never, you can't tell like that. The reason is we are having another definition for line voltage. When you are considering about the line voltage, what's meant by the line voltage is the difference between these 2 voltages. When you are considering about the phase 1 voltage and phase 2 voltages, what's the difference between these 2? That's known as the line voltage. When you are considering about the line voltage, it simply means the voltage difference between 2 lines. It's not considering about the one line voltage and neutral line. We are going to consider the 2 phases and we are going to consider what's the voltage difference between those. So that's the two-phase line to line voltage. In simple terms, we are going to call as line voltage. So remember that, and don't confuse with whether this line voltage is equals to this phase voltage. Never, because when you are considering about this part, actually we knew that this time voltage is not zero. Actually it's not zero, it's going to have a phase voltage. Likewise, the phase 2 is also not zero, it's going to have another voltage, and it's going to be the same, but the angle would be different. It's going to lead 120 degrees. It's going to lead the phase 1 by 120. So there's a little bit difficult, so you can't directly tell like that. So that's the main point. So the next question over here is, what's the connectivity, or what's the relationship between these two voltage, line voltage and phase voltage? We can easily figure it out by using a phase diagram. Let's say there's a neutral line here over here, and the normally we have named those three phases as R, Y and B. When you are considering those, actually we knew that let's say this R is the reference line. Let's say this is the first voltage we are having, the phase angle 0. Likewise, here we are going to take, this is like R voltage from N to R, which means we are going to ground it to this neutral wire, which simply shows that this is going to be 0. So this is the phase voltage of that phase. This is going to be, let's say this is VRN, respective to the neutral line, or respective to 0 voltage, ground voltage is going to be R. Likewise, when you are considering about the phase 2, it's going to have 120 degrees from that phase. Once when you are considering about this, it's going to have 120 degrees difference. So the phase voltage of that phase 2 would be, that's 120 degrees difference. So if you draw the difference over here, you can directly get it this. Let's say this is Y, so it's going to be Y, and this would be VRY. It's going to have the same magnitude, but in the different direction, and the angle between these two phases would be 120. Likewise, when you are considering about the phase 2 and phase 3, it's going to have another 120, so it will be in this direction and the same magnitude. So it's going to be V, this let's consider as VB, so BN, it's going to be VBN. So these are the things you need to know. So this is 120. So now we have figured out the phase diagrams for that these three voltages. Remember that is going to be phase voltage. When you are considering about the line to line voltage, we are going to check what's the voltage difference between B and R. What's the voltage difference between these two lines, B and R? For that, using the phase diagram, we can directly find, if we find the magnitude of this and direction of this part. Likewise, when you are considering about these two phases R and Y, it's going to be in this one. Likewise, it's going to be in this side, VBY. So let's mark it like this one, VBY, VBR, and this is VRY. So now we have totally figured it out, the phase diagrams. So from that, check whether we can have any relationship between this voltage magnitude and this magnitude VBN or VRN. These are going to be the same because we are going to have the same magnitudes over here. So we can directly tell it's going to be the same. These are known as the phase voltage of each phase. So how to figure it out the value of this one? Actually, you can use the basic trigonometric functions and directly get the answer of this one. The magnitude of line to line voltage, when you are considering about the line voltage, remember that that's not the voltage of phase. It's going to be the voltage difference between two phases. So line to line voltage, or line voltage, simply known as line voltage, can be easily written as, well, if you figure it out, the connection or relationship between this line phase voltage and line voltage using trigonometric rules, you will be getting √3 phase voltage, the magnitude of phase voltage. So this is the thing you need to know. How we have get this equation is, you need to actually draw a phase diagram. We knew that when you are drawing the phase diagram, according to the neutral line, we knew the values of those things. It's also having the 120 degrees phase angle differences. After that, you can directly compare the point. Actually, we knew the point of those things are by B, and from that we can directly connect that and find the voltage difference between any of those 2 points. So this is the main thing. Also, normally when we are considering about our country, Sri Lanka, actually we are having the phase voltage of each line. Normally most of the countries will have 230 voltage as the phase voltage, which means actually when you are using the current for your home, actually you can see that in any component you are using, you normally have 230 voltages. You can see that label in that component's label. You can directly see it's going to be 230 voltage, which simply means when you are considering about the home, normally we will get only one phase, only one line we are going to get for home users. So actually it's going to be 230 voltage in most of the countries. If you multiply that, you will be getting nearly 400 voltage, which simply shows that when you are considering about one phase and another phase which is given to the next house, if you consider the voltage difference between these two, it's going to be 400 voltage. So these are the relationship. You need to remember this part. From that you can directly figure it out. If they give the line voltage, you can figure it out the value of phase voltage. The thing is, line voltage is not the voltage of that line. Remember that it's going to be the voltage differences between two lines, and it's not the two phase lines. It doesn't mean the voltage difference between one line and a neutral line. It's going to be the voltage difference between any two phase lines. So you should remember that. I hope this video will be useful for you. If you have any doubts, please comment it below. I can solve that. Thank you.